SuperTalk Mississippi Media production.
I'm Steve Azar, and I'm on the other side of the microphone, meaning I'm asking the questions this time, and oh, have mercy for the airwaves. I spent 20 years in Music City, wrote and made some hits, traveled the world, and then moved my family back to the birthplace of American music and where the magnolia trees prosper. And now every time I put my feet on Mississippi soil, when I'm off the road, well, I'm at peace. On this show, it's all about hearing the stories straight from the mouths of the friends I've made along the way, their journey to success. Heck, there might be someone on, I don't even know, but you know how us Mississippi types are. We tend to take well to new company. In a Mississippi Minute, all 60 of them. I'm Steve Azar.
It's just like that muddy river, moving slow. Ain't no worries, it's how life goes, baby. In a Mississippi Minute. That's right.
Hey folks, time for another In a Mississippi Minute. Steve Azar here. Grateful for you tuning in always. Much love to you guys. Sticking around into my 8th year. Well into it. Wow. Today's guest, I'm excited about part 2. But before we do that, let's celebrate. Visit Mississippi.org. So many cool trips await you. Wonderful things. Celebrate our Mississippi. Today is another Mississippi treasure. Incredible storyteller like we are so famous for. Go to visit Mississippi.org. My guest, part 2, a true Southern storyteller whose life and work weave together the threads of law, literature, music history, and Mississippi soul. Come on. Born in Pascagoula, he's worn many hats: attorney, state official, university professor, acclaimed novelist. His mystery novels, including Big Easy Backyard and The Green-Eyed Hurricane, and his latest, Queen of Memphis, which we discussed and I didn't know about until the last episode, so shame on me, have earned accolades alongside literary giants like John Grisham, Donna Tartt. So many incredible writers that make up our landscape of fine novelists, and the history of that for sure is deep. And also his deep Mississippi roots have long fueled his creative and historical work. He isn't here today to just talk about his career, which we delved into deeply on the first episode. He's here to talk about this rock and roll origin story involving fire-breathing stage annex of Mississippi farm boy turned mask musical outlaw. Got to it last time because, you know me, I felt like me and my guest today were on the front porch, and you know what happens. It's like Andy Griffith. It's the improbable saga of Jerry Marty Lott, a.k.a. The Phantom, a forgotten pioneer in 1958 recording. Back then, he made that great song, Love Me. May have kickstarted the entire psychobilly genre. My guest uncovered this story in an extended interview with Pat Boone himself. And trust me, I personally know some wild ones, and like I said before, I'm not sharing them just yet. So get ready for an episode that blends music history, cultural mystery, and a touch of Southern Gothic flair with author, senior attorney for the Mississippi Secretary of State's office, Martin Hegwood. What's up, Martin?
Thank you, Steve, man. Doing fine down here in Pascagoula.
We're back.
Yeah, I enjoyed last time. I really did.
Oh, wonderful. Me too.
Like you said, there's quite a story to tell about Jerry Lott, also known as Marty. I don't know for sure where he got the name Marty. He just liked it, I guess, because his real name, I think, is Jerry Lee Lott. And he was born in, he was born in Leakesville, grew up there. And he's got quite a story. When Jerry was a teenager, he started playing the guitar, and he was into country music. And Elvis Presley came along, and it rocked his world. And he got into rock and roll, specifically the rockabilly genre. You know, the Carl Perkins and Jerry Lee, the Sun record genre up there in Memphis. And he got into it real heavy. And he went to Mobile. He was 18. Well, he was 20 years old. He was 18 in 1958, so he went down to Mobile to Gulf Coast Records, which is no longer with us. And he and his 3-man band cut a record called Love Me. Actually, the other side was, and I don't even know what that was, but the other side was what they were cutting. Love Me was thrown in when he got down there and realized that he had to have something on the flip side.
Yeah, B-sides, a lot in a history, B-sides have been the ones that turned out to be the hits with a lot of acts.
Exactly. Well, that's exactly what happened here. He threw it together in about an hour or so, and then recorded the B-side, which was Love Me. Love Me is about 90 seconds. I think, in fact, it's 93 seconds, a minute and 33. It starts out with what the critics call a blood-curdling scream, and it goes downhill from there. I mean, it sounds like they're tearing up the studio. The drums are pounding as fast as they can go. He's screaming, go, go, go in the background. They're shouting out these lyrics. And by the time he gets to the end, he's completely out of breath. It sounds like he ran a marathon. And the last words are, love me. I like he's about to collapse.
Yeah.
This was in 1958. And there was nothing like this around. And nobody really knew what to do with it. I mean, people have listened to it and they say, well, it's pretty good, but I don't exactly know where it fits. And so Jerry Lott, a.k.a. Marty, he went by the name Marty, decided that he would try to hit the big time with it. And he decided he'd go out to Los Angeles, California, and look up Pat Boone. Now, to put this in perspective, Jerry Lott was 22, Pat Boone was 25. Pat Boone was at the top of his game. He had a national TV show, the Pat Boone Chevrolet Hour. He had put out hit after hit after hit. He was filming movies. He went on to film movies with Anne Margaret and what have you. Every month back there, this has been 1960, every month it was either Pat or Elvis Presley on top. So he was as big a name as you could get. And he's always been noted for, Mr. White Shoes and he's associated with clean, wholesome, easy listening music, love letters in the sand, that type of thing. Now, for some reason, Jerry Lott got it in his head that this wild, screaming 90 seconds of pure energy would appeal to Pat Boone.
Hey, can I back up for a second? Martin?
Sure.
I'm sorry. I'm thinking Marty up there. Martin, did they have a relationship before he went to Los Angeles?
Absolutely not.
He just bust up in there?
He just busted up in there. And there's some question about exactly where he caught Pat Boone. I read one story where he caught him on the way to church. I think that was a little contrived. I think he went to his office, and Pat Boone thinks he went to his office too. I did an interview with Pat Boone on this. But anyway, he got him to listen to the music. I guess Pat Boone was just feeling charitable. Here was a kid from the South. He was 22, looking for a break. He'd come all the way across country. And although it was absolutely nothing like what he would want to listen to, he did, basically out of the goodness of his heart. And after he heard it, he said, I think we can do something with this. Which was, even Marty Lott had to be surprised by that.
Yeah, because it was so off the beaten path of what had made him so successful.
It was 20 years ahead of anything like what he put out. I mean, he was ahead of his time by a good 20 years. And Pat Boone had an idea, and he had mulled this over in his mind. He was a comic book fan at the time. And so there was a DC action figure called the Phantom, wore a mask and all this. Pat Boone had this idea about establishing or getting a rock singer to be the Phantom, to wear a mask on stage, to have a secret identity. And he listened to Jerry Lott, and he thought, the Phantom, I have found my Phantom. This is just what I need. And so he told Jerry about the idea about being the Phantom. And he said, the only thing is you're going to have to wear a mask on stage and a mask everywhere you go, because we don't want anybody knowing. And I guess he had in mind some big reveal after several months of teasing with his masked rock and roll singer. And of course, Jerry Lott went for it, no questions asked. So they set up the Phantom. And after he decided that he would do that, after Pat Boone said he would do that for him, Marty, almost as an afterthought, said, well, what about my record? And so Pat calls up Randy, what's his name, for the record guy from Nashville, Randy's record shop. Mm-hmm. It'll come to me in a minute. But anyway, he called him up and said, I need to I've got a singer here, and we need to cut a record on the Dot record label, which was at the time just a huge national record label. Pat Boone did all this stuff on Dot. A lot of the Southern singers for sure did it on Dot Records. And just like that, he had yes, sir.
No, go ahead. Keep it right there. You had a what? What do you have?
Well, just like that, he had a contract for a record.
Wow. Let's stay at the Dot Records contract. Let's take a quick break. We're with incredible novelist, great storyteller, one of Mississippi's finest. Big Easy Backyard, The Green-Eyed Hurricane, his latest Queen of Memphis. Check his novels out. My man Martin Hegwood. We're going to be right back. Visit Mississippi.org. Big old smile on his face, like I usually say, anytime we're celebrating our arts. We'll be right back. I'm Steve Azar.
Hey, baby, I'm gonna be good, loving you. My bag's unpacked and I ain't just passing through. Baby, I'm gonna be good, loving you. Yeah, baby, I'm gonna be good.
Listen and watch all your favorite SuperTalk Mississippi shows live and on demand. Listen to tons of music. Plus, get the latest breaking news from across the state with the SuperTalk Mississippi app. The SuperTalk Mississippi app. Download the SuperTalk app on your iPhone or Android device now for free. Just search SuperTalk Mississippi in your app store on your mobile device to get everything Mississippi all in one place. The SuperTalk Mississippi app. Get it now. Hello.
Flying down that levee road and trying to see how fast you go. I got my baby along for the ride.
Back, second segment in a Mississippi Minute. I'm glad I can keep up. This morning, got a great guest today, great novelist. Martin Hegwood is my guest. Visit Mississippi.org always allows me to have guests. They've been with me since the start, into my 8th year. I can't thank them enough for everything they do to bring folks into the state and celebrate all that we are in such a special way. Go to visit Mississippi.org. I'm a believer. Martin Hegwood is my guest today. Some of his works, Big Easy Backyard, The Green-Eyed Hurricane, his latest Queen of Memphis. He's earned accolades alongside legendary greats like John Grisham and etc. So there you go. Got started writing as you listened to the last episode. If you didn't check it out, just decided to do it, and his first attempt was published, and which drives us journeymen like myself crazy. It's unbelievable. Anyway, grateful to have Martin Hegwood on. We're talking Pat Boone. We're talking a crazy story. Martin, back in the day, the way we all did it was just knock on doors. So I don't feel like that was so far-fetched that he knocked on Pat Boone's door, but what is far-fetched is where Pat Boone was musically and what got him there and what was keeping him on top. And he makes this drastic musical move, and something must have been going on where it was perfect timing for him. He must have been searching something out, and all of a sudden, here comes Marty. So let's continue. Marty gets a record on Dot in Nashville. And where are we?
Well, not only that, he gets a national tour. So Pat Boone's idea about the Phantom is going to come to fruition in the person of Marty Lott. And he's already fashioned. He's got his idea about a mask, a costume that he's going to wear and what have you. And he's going to send him around on a national tour. Well, back then you didn't have American Bandstand, a national show.
Right.
Every big city had their own dance party. Memphis had one. Boston, New York, they all had dance parties, but they were confined to that particular city. The first place, well, first of all, he had to get him a handler. Now, bear in mind, Marty Lott had never been really outside of Leakesville in his life. I doubt that he had ever stayed in a hotel, period. So he was going on this national tour and really didn't know how to get on and off a plane for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So Pat enlisted the aid of a friend of his who was a comedian who was working out in Hollywood, and he sent him along to be his handler. First of all, to make sure that he stayed in character the whole time, that he didn't take off his mask, that he didn't blow the secret, that he, kept up anonymous and anonymity. And that was tough enough. But then also to keep him in the hotel room, he had to limit his interaction with the public, because every time he went out, he was expected to wear the mask. Now, this is a real tough order.
Wow.
So he didn't let him go out much. And this guy, Pat Boone's friend, was riding herd on Marty, keeping him in these hotels. And everything, Marty was getting cabin fever pretty bad. I mean, it was all new to him. and the newness of the hotels wore off real fast, he discovered that in room service you could order whiskey. Well, that was a turning point there. That when he figured that out, then he would get up in the room. He was bored to death. He wanted something, so he'd order a bottle of whiskey, and then it got really dicey as far as handling him. But they went on. They kept on these tours, and one time he went to I think the first one that Pat Boone was telling about was in Philadelphia, and that's where Dick Clark got his start with the American Bandstand. This was Dick Clark's predecessor at the time who had the show. Dick Clark started the American Bandstand, but he put him out there and in costume, and he was going to lip sync because I guess that's what they did.
That's what they did back then, especially on American Bandstand. I don't think they ever played live.
Yeah. Well, he was trying to lip sync, and the mask started slipping, and he lost his bearings.
Oh my gosh!
And he was wandering around the stage, not really knowing where he was, and people were yelling into. I guess he had a mic in his ear, say, move back this way, move back that way, don't fall off the stage. And so finally, at the end, and his actions, his movements weren't coinciding with the song he was supposed to be lip syncing with "Love Me." And at the end, it was one of these. Have you ever seen Springtime for Hitler? When the audience is so stunned, they don't know what to do. And then all of a sudden the applause breaks out.
Yeah. I get that.
It was like that. They didn't know what to do. And all of a sudden somebody started clapping, and this thunderous applause came out there for this, whatever it was, show that they had just seen. Well, that continued on for quite a while. But let me tell you a little bit before I get too far ahead on this thing. Let me tell you a little bit about how I found out about the Pat Boone story and Marty to begin with. I wrote a couple of years ago, I wrote a history of Pascagoula in World War II. And we were trying to become a World War II heritage city. There's one per state. And at the time it was a brand new program with the National Park Service. And I started that, and I did a year's worth of study on Pascagoula in World War II. And we got the designation. Pascagoula is Mississippi's World War II heritage city. And it's a big deal. They just put a mural downtown, about that. And then we've got, some streets that are lined with banners citing World War II heritage. But anyway, I got interested in the area's history, and I decided I wanted to do a history on the lumber business in southeast Mississippi, because what it was, they'd cut timbers and they'd float them down the Chickasawhay River, float them down the Leaf, down the Pascagoula to Moss Point in Pascagoula, and they'd cut this lumber, and we became a huge international lumber exporter. Well, I wanted to do a history of that. And I drive from Canton to Pascagoula about twice a month. And I passed by Leaksville. Just the sign said Leaksville. And I realized that Leaksville was one of the points where this lumber was taken onto the river to be floated down. And so I started looking into the history of Leaksville because I wanted to find out a little bit about it, specifically for the lumber period. Well, you look at Wikipedia, and the first thing they have on Wikipedia, every little town has a Wikipedia entry. Of course, Leaksville is no exception. And they always put out notable people from Leaksville. Well, Pat Harrison, the senator, was from Leaksville. Of course, there were a number of athletes. Every little crossroad in Mississippi has some athlete that's made it to the pros,
sure,
either in baseball, basketball. Yeah. Every one of them. And of course, Leaksville had its share of that. And then it said Jerry Lott, rock and roll singer. Never heard of Jerry Lott, rock and roll singer. And so I looked him up, and that's where I got started on this and found this story. But back to the Hollywood the tour. It got to where it was so bad that he was driving the handler crazy. And Pat Boone was back in Hollywood, and he was getting dispatches from the road, and the guy said, I don't know how much longer I can do this. I mean, this country boy is about to drive me crazy, and he's just on the verge of breaking out, and I just don't know what I can do about it. And so Pat decided that it was time to pull him off the road a little bit and give it a rest. He didn't want to do away with the idea of having the Phantom. He liked that. But he had his movie going on. He had 4 daughters by this time. He had his TV show, and he was cutting records. And so he said, look, I'll send him back to Leaksville, and we'll take a break here. We'll give it a little time, and then I'll pick up on this later on when I've got time to devote to it. Well, the story didn't have a happy ending. After this national tour, after this dot record, this contract that he had, he went back to Leaksville and I guess started going on a mini tour of his own. Somehow he ended up in South Carolina, and he had a car wreck and was left a quadriplegic. Now, he was a young man at the time. He was only in his 20s. He lived 20 more years as a quadriplegic, and the people in Leesville took care of him. Right now, I'm in the process of trying to figure out his story and what happened to him after that time. But I looked at this, and I was trying to I knew that there was a story that I wanted to write. And as I was doing the research, I saw the story about Pat Boone, and I said, I hadn't heard from Pat Boone in a while. I didn't know, I'll tell you the truth, I didn't know he was still around. And I looked, and sure enough, he was.
Let's take it from there. I know what you just said. Sure enough, he was. Don't you move. I'm loving this story. You got to stay linear for me. I'm loving it. We're with Martin Hegwood, incredible novelist, Mississippi storyteller, Big Easy Back Road, The Green-Eyed Hurricane, and his latest, Queen of Memphis. Check his novels out. He's one of our very own. Speaking of that, the Writer's Trail. Just follow that one day. It's going to take you around the state. You're going to be so proud of all the great writers from Mississippi. Probably a lot of the books you've read in your life and you go, wait, I didn't know they were from Mississippi. Most of the great ones were. We'll be right back. You're in the Mississippi Minute.
Highway 61. Highway 61.
Up to $20,000 available for first-time home buyers. Hey folks, Steve Azar here. Helping is the heart of our friends at Guarantee Bank. They offer programs like the Home Buyer Equity Leverage Partnership Grant that can assist qualified first-time home buyers with up to $20,000 towards down payment and provide home ownership counseling to empower you on your journey. These funds are first come, first served. Learn more about this program and to apply now, go to gbtonline.com. Guarantee Bank, member FDIC.
Listen and watch all your favorite SuperTalk Mississippi shows live and on demand. Listen to tons of music. Plus, get the latest breaking news from across the state with the SuperTalk Mississippi app. The SuperTalk Mississippi app. Download the SuperTalk app on your iPhone or Android device now for free. Just search SuperTalk Mississippi in your app store on your mobile device to get everything Mississippi all in one place. The SuperTalk Mississippi app. Get it now.
From the Seabrook,
Mississippi. In a Mississippi Minute with Steve Azar, right here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Steve Azar here in a Mississippi Minute with my man Martin Hegwood, novel maker from the very beginning when he decided to do it with Big Easy Back Road. His first attempt was published, then The Green-Eyed Hurricane, and then his latest, Queen of Memphis. Special writer, waited a while before he did it, and when he did it, he was all in, and it's been kind of easy, which is amazing. And I know that it's been difficult at times for my guest Martin Hegwood today, but I'm going to tell him it was easy, coming from my perspective. But anyway, we're talking about Pat Boone, talking about Jerry Marty Lott, a.k.a. the Phantom. This whole time of music back in the 50s, you think about it, if you got off the beaten path, you were probably pretty devilish to anybody that was listening. They're playing the record backwards or whatever it is in our time. There was always some band that came along in each generation that everybody thought that they were the devil themselves. So this was probably that story. Visit Mississippi.org. Loves hearing this story. Plan a road trip with your loved ones. You might find your loved one out there on the road somewhere in Mississippi. We're talking Pascagoula. Just saying the word Pascagoula excites me. I love that name. I love that town. A lot of history for me growing up in that town, playing sports mostly, but made a lot of friends over there on the Gulf Coast, period. And that's where my guest today is from. So, Martin, keep going a little bit, because are you talking about maybe doing a novel on this story, or is it enough of, or is it maybe just a coffee table book? Is it a short story? I mean, what's your plan with this?
that's the problem right there, is finding just exactly where it fits. All I was planning at first was just a column, maybe with somebody like Garden and Gun, maybe with one of the local publications. Mm-hmm. But then it got too long. After I talked to Pat Boone, I called his agent and asked him if he would be interested in giving me just a statement about Marty Lott. And I got this return phone call or return email from his agent. And he said, oh, yeah, not only will he give you a statement, he'll give you 15 minutes on a phone call.
Wow. And
I thought that was just wonderful. Well, it turns out that the 15 minutes turned into an hour and 15 minutes. And I told him.
You are from Mississippi.
well, and Pat's a Southern boy too. I mean, he is.
Sure.
But I told him, look, I don't want to take up Mr. Boone's time too much. I told him exactly what it was. And I said, a statement would be okay. He said, oh no, Pat wants to do this. He wants to do this. He was very much interested. He thought Marty Lott was a fascinating story. And he, put on a Zoom call. I went up to Mississippi State. I do some work for the Extension Service up there, some contract work. And they have everything at the Extension Service set up to where they can do a Zoom call. And it turns out that I got it all, and not only the video, but a recording of it, a transcript, which is a great feature of Zoom. But anyway, he was telling me this story about Marty Lott and how he came and the story about how he came to Hollywood and the story about the Phantom. And then he would tell me about some of the things that Marty Lott would do on his act. Now, his act, not necessarily the one when he went national, but when he was down in southeast Mississippi, he somehow figured out a way that he could put lighter fluid in his mouth on stage and light it and blow it out and blow flames out of his mouth. Now, this is something that predated, I think who did that? Kiss or... I mean, one of the big rock bands did that. Well, he predated them by 20, 25 years. I mean, he figured out how to do it. And it was just a wild situation. Of course, Pat Boone loved that. He thought it was just great. He knew he had his Phantom. And he was telling all the stories about, how much he had real long hair. Marty Lott had real long hair. And this was, again, 1960. And nobody had long hair. Well, it was so long it wouldn't fit under the mask. So they had he got some people from his Pat Boone Chevrolet show to come over there and cut his hair just right and fashion it for the mask. And he said that Marty Lott actually cried when he was cutting his hair. And he valued his hair. It's kind of like Samson. He valued his hair so much that it seemed to hurt him when he had to cut it off. But he he obviously liked Marty Lott, and he wanted to make something out of this. And it was just a shame that tragedy intervened, and that there was a pause and tragedy intervened. Now, I'm going to get the rest of the story about that because I put out a call down in southeast Mississippi about people who knew Marty Lott, and I've gotten a lot of responses. Now, in response to your question, what is it going to be? It's not quite long enough for a novel, and it's too long for an article, so I'm not real sure exactly what form it's going to be. But I'm going to write it up. I think you mentioned in the introduction that he's called the progenitor of psychobilly. Psychobilly is it's an urban type of music. I mean, these are people with pink hair and spikes and, you go into some big city, not just a normal city, but Boston or New York or something like that. Go into a basement at 3:00 in the morning. Sure. And psychobilly, that's what they're playing. Well, there's a group that led the psychobilly movement called the Cramps. And they did a remake, a cover of Marty Lott's music. It's been remade like a dozen times over a period of 20 years last one was by some Swedish artist. And then this music, which was 20 years ahead of its time, is one of the seminal recordings in what developed as a psychobilly. Now, it's amazing to me that a strictly urban, wild phenomenon like that got its origin in the little town of Leakesville, Mississippi. Not only that, but the godfather was Pat Boone, of all people. That's just so incongruous, and it just doesn't fit. It just doesn't fit.
The Pat Boone I remember is more the wild Pat Boone.
Yeah, he does have a side like that.
Well, he did. He had a side when he would. Well, I mean, I remember both sides, but when the stuff that stuck out, I mean, I felt like he was trying to be Elvis. He was trying to be really in the rock and roll genre and be and make a difference. Yeah.
Remember when he came out with a leather vest with no shirt? And
Exactly.
all that kind of stuff?
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Pat, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Pat Boone, he gets pigeon-toed, but it's amazing what he's done. It is amazing what he's done. The breadth of his work. This song is called the unofficial Jewish national anthem, "This Land Is Mine." Mm-hmm. The theme song from, he wrote that.
That's right. He was a great writer. Yeah, he was.
Yeah,
you think about back in the day having a show on TV. There wasn't, how many stations did we have? So, you think about being one of those guys that's arriving in that world. In the Mandrell sisters, I got to know them when I was in Nashville. Great folks. They're really great. And, think about how talented they were, but they got to showcase that in front of a national audience every week.
Right.
You think about Carol Burnett. how great was she? And she's still alive and kicking. She's still amazing, and just amazing with the Smothers Brothers. I could go on and on about these great, Sonny and Cher. When you got one of those shows, it was game on, and that was it. You had arrived.
Well, Pat Boone is not only alive and kicking, he's 91 years old. He just turned 91 last month. And he's still writing and recording.
Wow.
He has his own label that he just launched called the Pat Boone Gold Label. And what he has done has gone and taken stars from the 60s, 70s, and 80s who've sort of been kicked to the curb or just bypassed or forgotten, and giving them a chance to re-record some of their old stuff to put out some of their new stuff. It's called Pat Boone Gold Label.
Wow, that's cool.
Like the Ventures. You remember that great guitar group, the Ventures?
Sure.
They were so good, and all these groups that he's trying to jumpstart or reinvigorate their careers, and he's using the money as for a charity which is basically dedicated to providing clean drinking water in Africa.
Oh, wow.
He's 91 years old, and he
still has a purpose.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and as nice as he can be. I was just blown away.
Yeah. Well, let's take a quick break. I love that about artists. First of all, excuse me, when you've been through a long journey as an artist, you've been humbled a lot, and when you get toward the end and you just want to give more. I've noticed that with a lot of artists along the way that have made such a big difference, and that's cool to hear. Let's stand by with Martin Hegwood, great novelist, and been talking a lot about Pat Boone. Really great story today, Marty, a.k.a. Jerry Marty Live. Visit Mississippi.org. Check it out. I'm Steve Azar. We'll be right back.
Everybody's laughing, I'm crying. I'm the waitress in L.A., way past the prime, shoulder to shoulder, half a mile line, I'm crying.
$20,000 available for first-time home buyers. Hey folks, Steve Azar here. Helping is the heart of our friends at Guarantee Bank. They offer programs like the Home Buyer Equity Leverage Partnership Grant that can assist qualified first-time home buyers with up to $20,000 towards down payment and provide home ownership counseling to empower you on your journey. These funds are first come, first served. Learn more about this program and to apply now, go to gbtonline.com. Guarantee Bank, member FDIC.
There's a ton of content from SuperTalk Mississippi on our new YouTube channel. Just search SuperTalk Mississippi on YouTube or go to supertalk.fm/YouTube. Be sure and subscribe for free to get the latest scoop on what's happening in Mississippi news, politics, sports, and at Fillmore Buick GR right here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Dark hair draped across my pillow,
places I finally
Martin
got it right.
Hegwood, author, his latest book, The Queen of Memphis. Check it out. Big Easy Back Road.
And as I
The
watch
Green Eyed
you dream
Hurricane.
and
These
twisted and
have awards wrapped all around them. And my man today, I've gotten to know in two parts. I really appreciate him taking the time. I appreciate my friends over there. Visit Mississippi.org. Plan a road trip. Check it out. And take a ride on the country music trail marker system. It's quite a few. We're about in the 40s now, I believe. And it'll take you all over the place. And you'll see a lot of history brought to you by Visit Mississippi and the state of Mississippi. Because we are the birthplace of music and it all. That's for sure. Martin Hegwood is my guest today. Martin, you think about him opening this label, him donating money for clean water in Africa. You think about his life. A lot of artists that I know of, including me, when you played with Willie or Bob Seger or whoever you played with along the way, you just, in your mind, you just want to keep going like them. And you just go, can you go forever and take your last breath, and when you still said you never retired or never quit doing it. I can't imagine not doing it. Pat Boone's a guy that we could both say that he's never slowed down. And it's just interesting. One of the best albums I ever heard was Meet Glenn Campbell by Glenn Campbell. Folks, if you guys have not heard this record, it'll move you. I mean, he does some songs he didn't write, like by Green Day and some other acts and all that. But it's just him saying goodbye in a way like he knew things were coming. He knew he probably, he was about to announce that he was pretty sick. It was just one of the most beautiful records. I just check it out if you can. But, this is cool that Pat does this. Have y'all had an opportunity to maybe get back in touch? Is there an opportunity that looks like if you decide to publish this thing that lend a little bit of more time, solidify it all and knock it out?
Oh, he definitely left the door open on that. And I told him at the time I didn't really know what I was going to do with this. But before I did anything, I was going to contact him. He's been so generous and so nice. Look, with him, what you see is what you get. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's the genuine article. He really is. We talked, once we started talking, we talked about everything in the world. I mean, we were talking about the biblical flood at some point. I mean, he's a multi-talented man of great interest. He's interested in everything. He's obviously got a high intellect. He's obviously very talented, but he's such a giver. And I'm, as you can tell, I'm a big Pat Boone fan. Okay?
Yeah.
I mean, unabashedly, yeah.
You say, hey,
Martin,
you talk about his talent. He wasn't just a songwriter, just a singer, just an entertainer. He was like overall, it was like a lot, right? It was everything in one, which was basically what you needed to be, especially in his day. You needed to be a chameleon and be a little bit of everything and be really good at it. And that's what he was. And that, I believe that's why his staying power, has been so incredibly vast. And I also think it's what kept him wanting to do it, because you're not doing one little thing all the time. You're very versatile, and it just sort of, I'm going to do this, and then, I've had enough of that. I'm going to do this. And by the time you come back full circle, you're ready to do that again. I guess that's the best way to explain it. But, 91 years old and still doing it is insane. Willie's like that. Willie's doing it.
Yeah. You start as a teenager, like in Pat Boone's case. You start as a teenager and now you're 91, 70-something years, and there's never been any big scandal. He's never had a misstep as far as I can tell. What that means is that he's not faking it. It's genuine.
Right.
Yeah.
Reba.
But
Reba is Reba, whether she's on TV, acting, or whether she's on stage, or whether you're talking to her. She's not acting. She's just being Reba. And there's another example of longevity and a brand that people just love.
I greatly admire people who are in the spotlight who handle it so well.
Yeah.
We've got some good examples here in Mississippi. The Manning family comes to mind.
Sure.
They've handled fame as well as anybody I've ever seen. John Grisham, he's handled fame very well. It's,
agree.
It's tough. There's so many temptations. There's so many critics, especially now with the internet, where anybody can get on there and call you everything but a child of God, and there's nothing that you can say about it. So there's so many times that you could lash out that you just have to hold your tongue, and it's really, really hard. And I admire people who can do that. And And
Yeah, well, you got to let all
Steve,
that.
I appreciate you. Huh?
Well, I appreciate you. Thank you for saying that. Well, I'm blessed. I'm grateful. Trust me, I'm so grateful. You know, you put the work in.
You're a great ambassador for this state, and I appreciate that.
Well, that means the world to me, and so are you. And I love that we finally got to talk. But listen, I can't thank you for taking 2 Mississippi minutes with me. You are a wonderful man, and a shout out to our man Bo Thomas. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful man. Like I said in the beginning of the first episode, one of the greatest men I've ever met, the sweetest men, and he connected us. So I really appreciate that as well.
Well, you use the correct word, sweet. He's a sweet person.
Great athlete in his day, too. He could bring it. He could really bring it. All right, well, we've had a great time. Martin Hegwood, folks, check out his books, his novels, Big Easy Back Road, The Green-Eyed Hurricane, his latest, Queen of Memphis. Google him. Search him out. He's one of Mississippi's best. Great storytellers. Visit Mississippi.org is shining today. Check it out, plan a road trip. And you got to go to the Gulf Coast. Pascagoula is where we've been today with my man today. Martin, I can't thank you enough.
Thank you, Steve.
Blessings.
I'm Steve Azar. In a Mississippi Minute, all 60 of them, where you can take your sweet time.
A SuperTalk Mississippi Media production.